Because we know people who should be successful, but what? They're not successful. Why?
So that's his why buy. But what is he afraid of?
My personal style of education, but still entertain them, bring them along with stories, right? Who do we want to learn from? People who are what? Killing it.
If you're a real man, what do you do? I'm not the only one.
You can't wait to tell your spouse. You can't wait to tell your colleague. You can't wait to go to work and tell somebody. And you're like, oh my God, I can't wait. So what happened?
If you haven't seen my TV show, you should get cable. That's what you need to do.
From doing a TV show to doing corporate events, I've been so lucky to connect with many passionate entrepreneurs worldwide.
What I've learned from a business perspective.
Because this is the formula for success, no matter who you talk to. Attitude will drive your behavior. Would you agree? And your behavior will drive your consequences every single time.
We got the concept. Okay, we got the concept. We got the equipment, right? We got the brand. You guys got that. And then again, we got the content that we create. That's the easy part. This is the big one, the big C, which is the commitment.
What should you do? That's right. All right. 10Xers, do not fail me. True test. Here it comes.
There's skill, and then there's will. Listen to what I'm saying. There is skill, and then there is will. And here's the interesting thing. I know a lot of people who have a lot of skill, but have no what? Will, right? You ever look at somebody who's successful, and you say, why them? Why not you? Yes, okay, that's me too.
You have more control, but your costs are also going to be what? Higher.
Now, here's where some of the magic is starting to kick in.
You can talk to any CEO in the B2B business, any CEO. You walk into his office and they only care about three things. People too. Yeah, he with the suit, put it up. There you go. I hope you can see this. I'll try to draw big. Let's pretend for a moment that I had 7 territories. You remember I wrote that out? Yes or no? Boom. Territory 2, territory 3, all the way to territory number what? 7. So now I've segmented my market.
So content is going to start being created by machines. And I'm telling you right now that those people, you guys, the content creators that connect with people are the ones that are going to win. Some people think, well, it won't work for my industry. Really? It'll work for any industry. Trust me. The majority of the time when we're looking to fix something, repair something, or learn something, where do we go? YouTube. We don't even want to read anymore. We go to YouTube. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong.
When you're doing your thing, beautiful things begin to happen. It's like the law of attraction kicks in. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're in line with the universe. Everything works. And when you do your thing, everybody gets an automatic MBA, which stands for what? Mega Bank Account Money. Are you with me? So we don't want to do a thing. We want to do a what? Beautiful.
All right, put it all together for Victor Antonio. Here we go.
All right, there we go. I'm not here to mess around. You ready to learn? Yes or no?
That's how it works in today's market. Whether it's B2B or B2C, you see the similar pattern. How do you just, in other words, say you got to start doing these things, pushing them, but also encouraging them. Oh, look at this. This is where it gets, dude, this is like so interactive with audiences, Matt. Can you imagine this with your customers? Check this out. Now, what does all this have to do with selling? It has everything to do with selling.
All right, welcome to another Sales After Dark, because money never sleeps. I'm glad you're here joining me today.
If you're watching this on a replay, fast forward about 5 minutes. I'm going to say hi to my friends here, and then we'll jump into some content, and then I'll take some Q&A at the end, and we'll try to do this, maybe in 30 minutes. So anyway, let me see who's on the board. Hold on, I got to change some colors here. Let me make that white so I can get some comments on the board. Let's see who is here. Oh, there she is. Mia Knox, West Coast in the house. Thank you for joining us, Mia. My man, Brian Gator, man. I saw your post on Facebook, man. I hope you're doing well, man. I think it's the back is doing better, man. So thank you for being here. My man, if you love the intro, you'll love this guy. That's Cast Ahead, Chris Stone, man. Thank you, man. We'll do it. Let me see. You can't wait to go to work and tell somebody about Sales After Dark. That's what I'm talking about, Chris, man. And again, great work on the videos you're doing for me, man. If you're not checking out the post on my YouTube channel, just check it out. You get to see Chris's handiwork and the magic he works with my videos. Chris Isaac. I hate that I missed last night. What is the biggest mistake sales leader make? The answer is go watch the replay, man. That's what you're going to have to do, man. Sorry about that. All right, man. So, Lyanne, I think I got that right? From Rivera, from Chicago, hometown. Always welcome, man. Ansley Pierre, what is happening? Listening and then applying Victor's methods like playing with cheat codes. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, you're going to love today, man. I think I got some good stuff for you today. Chris, that's exactly what we're going to do, man. Spencer Ripley. What's up, VA? Meredith Elliott was great. Rain in Alpharetta. Yes, it is raining in Alpharetta, man. And I got this woodpecker outside, man. Just keeps pecking on my garage like, eaves, and it's just driving me nuts. So hopefully the pecker's asleep now, so that's cool. All right, we got, let me see. Episode 86, man. This is episode 86. The reason I'm putting an emphasis on this, for those who've been with me from the beginning, I committed to 100 episodes when the pandemic started. We're now up to 86, and man, we're closing in on 100. Salinas, California in the house. Rogelio Jacinto, my man, thank you for joining us, man. Thank you for letting me know where you're from. Chris Payne, that's what he brings. What's up, Victor? What's up, Chris, man? Sean Suresh, cheers from Singapore. Oh, man. Thank you for joining me, man. Thank you very much. Let me see. Your contractor, Sales After Dark, was awesome. That was a good one, right? That was a really good one. And by the way, thank Brian Gator for actually instigating that conversation. Hit home. I sell wholesale cabinetry B2B. Hey, by the way, have you ever seen that down here in Alpharetta, there's a place called, I think it's Cronin cabinetry, man. It's a place that's been around for like 50 years. It's really famous. But anyway, peace, love, and harmony, my friend. Right back at you, man. All right, so I got some good stuff for you guys today. I'm doing Blackboard today, man. I'm feeling the Blackboard. That's what I'm feeling today. So today I want to talk about, I was having a coaching call. Before I forget, I had a note here. Down in the links, I updated my book recommendation to include value-added selling, and I also recommended another book called Sell How You Buy, right? And again, that one's a great book. So I put them in, look at Victor's recommendations. There's a link to Amazon, and you'll see all the books that I recommend. So if they're on that list, I highly recommend them. And the books I'm recommending in that list are not so-so books. They're great books, what I call top shelf books, okay? So take a look at that. Look at the links. And if you haven't signed up for the Sales Influence podcast, go down there and click on that link. Now, I had a customer this morning, a coaching client, and we were talking about case studies. And it was like, how do you use them? And so we had a good conversation about just kind of understanding where and how you use case studies. So I thought this would be a great topic. I don't think I've covered this topic in the past. So what I want to do is jump in the topic of how to use case studies effectively to close a sale. And so let's begin with, it's a 3-part process. Let's go through it. Let's see if we can do it in 15 minutes. The first part is, let's talk about which. In other words, select which ones should we use? What type of case studies should we use? So let's kind of do the general stuff. First of all, you want to find something that's in the customer's industry. Now let me slow down because I get too excited about this stuff. Let's paint the scenario. You're going to do a presentation to a client, right? Or maybe you're cold calling or you're prospecting, and you want to insert this somewhere in the conversation or the first meeting. So you want to make sure that the case study you select, right? Case study you select is in the same industry. So for example, if you're talking to, let's say you have a software that helps general contractors, right? And you sell to the pool industry, the electrical, plumbing industry, plumbing, HVAC. You sell to different residential type industry, different contractor industries. Well, you don't want to talk about your software in the context of plumbing. Here's a case study of a plumber who used it when you're talking to a pool company. You want to line them up. So it's got to be in the same industry, and hopefully it's the same segment. So that would be residential, and make sure it's plumbing, residential, make sure it's pool, residential, make sure it's HVAC. So let's be clear on that. Just make it the same. The second thing you want to do, this one is important because this one is psychological, man. This one is psychological. You got to make sure it's believable. Now, let's dissect what that really means. It has to be believable. So let's kind of break it apart. Let me write it out again. Believable, right? Believable. I think I got that right. If I got it wrong, it is what it is. Now, if you aim too high, in other words, you show a case study that shows a return on investment, and I'm exaggerating for effect, of 250%. If the case study aims too high, then the client is definitely not going to believe what you're saying, right? They're going to say 250. I don't know if I believe that, right? That sounds too far out there. And this is almost like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, because now you don't want to go too low. Now you say that the return on investment, it could be up to 10%. Well, the customer is going to say up to 10%. Screw that, it's not worth implementing. So you have to find the actual case study that's just right. Now, you may have a case study that shows, let's say 75% return on investment, and you know that you can verify that. You can document, you got to document it. You can point to the customer, you can give the customer the reference. So I'll believe what you have on the paper, but in the customer's mind, it says, yeah, but I don't believe it. It's too high. So what you have to do is kind of train yourself not to give them something that's too exaggerated. I'll give you an example. I was working back about 4 or 5 years ago, I was doing some workshops and training, and I remember that my close rate on some of these seminars was like 80 to 90%. When I would tell people that 80 to 90%, they're like, really? 80, 90%? No, I could prove it. So what I started doing is I started undercutting myself. I said, well, typically my rates, and I would give it a non-round number. I said, it's typically between 47 and maybe 53%. And people goes, oh, wow, that's pretty good. Just shifting it downward to something that was believable made them believe me and want to buy from me and listen to me. So find something that's reasonable that you can use. Okay, so find we'll call this the just right. Yeah, just right. That's just right case study right there. So that's number 2. So the first one is industry segment. Number 2, it has to be believable. And then number 3, it's not a hard one. Number 3 is something that you want to do is tell a story. Now, remember, I've plucked out a case study, industry segment, got it. And the numbers are believable, right? Once it was implemented, the numbers are believable. Now we have to tell the story. And for those of you who watch the Sales After Dark podcast, or rather the Sales After Dark livestream, go back and look at the one about the infomercial, the structure of an infomercial, because it's really the structure of a presentation. And if you recall, I said in order to have, if you watch an infomercial, the most awesome pitch is this. They first tell you what the problem is. That was step 1. They tell you what the problem is. They tell you what the ideal solution is. Then they tell you the problem with the ideal solution, and then they give you their solution, right? That's the format. 4 steps to an infomercial. And so you can use this structure to tell a story. So if you're setting it up as a SaaS product, right? Let's say you got a specific SaaS product that you're selling, a product, service, software, whatever it may be. You can say, look, here's the problem. You're trying to keep track of all these fill in the blank, and you need a software to do this. Now, that's the problem. The ideal situation would be to use an application. I'm making this up, so if you're with Salesforce, don't get offended. You can use something like Salesforce, right? Salesforce allows you to do A, all the way to Z, right? That's the ideal solution, and that would be great. The problem with Salesforce is that it's too complicated, too convoluted, too many moving pieces. I'm making stuff up now, right? And it costs too much. Okay, that's the problem with that's the ideal solution. And that's where we come in. That's the solution, right? So keep that in mind. That's the storyline you want to tell. I mean, this right here can be really a presentation in and of itself. But the big part, the big takeaway is your case study has to be within the market segment. 2, it has to be believable. And now you have to tell a story with it. Now, that's the first chunk, right? Now, the second chunk is, what are you going to use that case study for? So let's say you got the case study. It's believable. You know what the story is around that case study. The thing is, how are you going to use it? What objection are we looking to resolve with this case study? What objection are we looking to overcome? So for example, the first one may be, that the first objection may be, so this is like, again, the first objection could be, it won't work. Victor, I don't think that works. I don't think that works. That could be one objection they get. The second one is, it won't work for me. I believe you, it works, Victor, I just don't think it'll work for me, right? Or a variation of that would be, it won't work for my company. It works for other companies, it won't work for my company. Or the next one is, number 3, the one we know is, it's too what? Victor, it's just too expensive, right? So you got to pick up what objection am I trying to block with this case study? And most people don't think about this. Now, you could be using one case study to block maybe these 2, that it will work and it's not that expensive. So it could be a combination thereof, okay? So keep in mind, if you're going to present a case study, it's to actually tie it to an objection. Last step. This is the most important part. Now, the third step is, so let me go to the first one is, let me just go through the steps one more time. Select the right case study. Select the right case study. Got it. That's the first one, right? Number 2, I said, once you select the right case studies, I want you to think of the objections that you're going to get. You're going to write out a list. 1, 2, you get the idea. What are the objections you're going to get? The third one, my favorite part of the actual presentation, is now we're going to what? We're going to block the objections. Because you know what I'm known for. Everybody talks about overcoming objections. I talk about blocking objections. And using case studies to block an objection is perfect. For those of you who have not seen my course on the Sales Velocity Academy, check out my blocking objection course. I am telling you, wake me out of a dead sleep, ask me, what's the one course you would recommend above all 50 plus courses that you think would help you make more money? And I say blocking objections, right? And again, I got 22, maybe 23 examples of different objections you'll get and how you can block them. I even explain the philosophy and the psychology behind why it's more effective than overcoming. In today's market, we don't want to overcome, we want to block. How do you do that? I have my case study, okay? I know what the objections are going to be, so I know what objections I want to block. Now I have to block them. So you see my 4-step process. The first one is you raise the objection. You don't wait for the customer to verbalize the objection. You raise the objection, right? Now again, the objection could be price, right? It could be won't work. It could be won't work for me, right? It could be one of those objections. Then you offer to resolve, right? And then you come up with a statement to offer to resolve. These are the 4 steps to blocking objections. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, right here is the demo part. This is where you have to show them something. This is exactly the point where you insert let's do this one in red. This is where you put your case study, right here. You put your case study right there, and last but not least, we go back to yellow, and that is you tie down the objection. You tie down the objection. And so this is what we went through today. We created the verbiage for how to raise an objection, right? And then we offered to resolve. So for example, many of my clients think this product won't work for them. Would you mind if I show you how we use it to help companies like you? They're going to say, sure. Then you do the case study. And in the case study, again, you've selected your case study, right? You know which case study you have, right? You selected the market segment. You also know that the numbers in there are believable to that industry. And now you know what story you want to tell. So when you pop the case story open right here, when you start doing the case study, you're going to talk about, again,
the infomercial formula. Look, many companies think about using this type of product. The problem is blah, 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 blah. Again, the structure I took you through. Talk about the problem, talk about the ideal solution, talk about the problem with the ideal solution, and then talk about your solution. And this is where you tie in the case study. And if you do the case study right, then you tie the objection down by saying, based on what I've shown you, can you now see how it'll work for your organization? And that is how you utilize a case study within the blocking objection structure. So again, if you're not part of Sales Velocity Academy, check it out. I also did a podcast on what the structure is. I don't want to go through the whole structure again of how to block objections, but I'm telling you right now, if you master blocking objections, you will feel that resistance go down. You will feel how much easier it is to ask for the order when you get to the end. So that is what I have for you today. That's a short one. I did that in about 10 minutes, which was really fast. I'll take any questions on that. And let me go back to next. And I'll take any questions you have on that. Let me go back to the white here so I can pop it. I saw some comments and I'm echoing. Somebody says I'm echoing. Am I echoing? 1, 2, 3. Oh man. Video is echoing. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's echoing. Why would it be echoing? Hold on a second. Should be muted. All right. Well, hopefully it's fixed out. I wish I had good case studies already. I wish I had good case studies already. I know it's really about getting those case studies, right? Good day, Master VA, and to the SAD. Sorry I'm late. Is it DST in the US? I don't know what DST, but it's EST, Eastern Standard Time over here, man. Ansley says we're talking gold here, man. I agree, man. If you learn how to do this, I think it's powerful, man. This, using case studies, finding a case study, again, it's difficult. You've got to find some good ones. But using them in a storytelling mode while blocking objections, I mean, that really is the way you should apply it. So let me see right here. Appreciate as always, VA, Rod, you haven't been around for a while, man. What case studies would you include or / show, in the website or on the website? What I would show, by the way, thank you. Some of you don't have an echo. That's cool. Oh, by the way, I got to try something. Here's I installed a little camera right here so you guys can see. Here's what I see. Let me see if you guys can see it. I can show it. No, it won't work. Just won't let me mess with it today for some reason. But hold on one second. I just want to show you something real quick. It's kind of cool. I just want to see if this works because I like to play with new stuff here. There's you can see what I see. This is what I see as I'm talking to you guys. I'll give you some behind the scenes stuff like that. That's what I see. Now, you see this mess over here to the right? That's you guys scrolling up and down. So all these comments I have to look at the same time. So that's why sometimes my eyeballs goes nuts. So anyway, I just thought I'd show you that. It's pretty cool. Rod, where you at? Let me look at Rod. Rod had the question. I just lost him. No echo here. Rod is right here. Which ones would I use on the website? Again, you don't know who's coming to your website. So that's a tough one, Rod. So you put me in a bad situation here because you don't know which one it is, right? You don't know who's coming. But what I would try to do is I've seen websites that use, multiple case studies. They put it almost like in a box format, so the web page will look like, let me take this comment off. The web page will look something, you've probably seen this, Rod. Here's the web page. And on the web page, they basically, they'll put like this, case studies you can download with a little download button below it, And then if it's multiple industries, it'll be, plumbing, that'll be plumbing, HVAC, roofing, I'm just using that as an example. And then you can click on the actual case study you want to download. So that's one way of, covering everybody. That's how I would do it. That'd be the easy way of doing it. Chris Isaac, same here. I just went back to LinkedIn to pull up a new link. Cool. All right. So I'm hoping it's working. So it shouldn't be echoing, but I don't know why. Great topic, VA. Thank you very much. No echo there. Rogelio tampoco. No echo. No echo. Okay, we're going with no echo here. I sell advertisements. I'm going to use this. I think it's perfect. If you could show, Lyanne, in your case, it's when you're selling advertisement, that's a tough one, right? That's always a tough sell because it's an intangible. Sometimes you can't even measure it. I'm not saying you can't always measure, but sometimes you can't measure it. And so finding ways to actually line up a case study with a similar company. So for example, let's say I'm just talking out loud here, you're working with grocery stores, right? And you can show a grocery store how another grocery store in another neighborhood used your
advertisement and was able to show some type of revenue. And again, pick something that's reasonable. The brain is interesting because you can say, look, you can get up to 80%. They're going, I don't believe that. But as soon as you drop it down to 30, 40, then you can have actual good conversation. So daylight savings times. King Harry, thank you for clarifying that. I believe it is, man. I believe it is. There he goes. Thank you. That's funny. So Chris Isaac, are case studies BS? Are case studies, not okay. Just asking because it seems ROIs are very personal and not mass accepted. This is a good conversation to have. I think they're BS when, so let's frame it, because this is a really good question, because you're asking me to qualify, when would you use a case study, Craig? And I accept the pushback. If they're too hypey, that's not even a word, but what the hell, we'll go with it. If it's too hypey, that's what I mean, the numbers are too big. One, it's not believable. Two, it has to be lined up with the industry. Makes it more believable. But here's what's even more interesting. If you can find a way, and I don't know how you would do it because it would depend on the product or service you're offering, to use the client's numbers, right? To use the client's numbers. So, for example, when I used to sell software products, what we did is we told the customer, look, when we talk about efficiency, saving time, reducing costs, here's what we're seeing. Here's some industry average. Now I said, this is that company that's in your industry. Now let's talk about your numbers. And let's talk about, what your numbers would look like. And then what do you think is believable? And so I would use the case study as almost an engagement tool to get them to volunteer information. And so, for example, you can say, look, based on our studies, here are the industry averages for these numbers, right? These numbers, right? The industry average. And then my question, Mr. Client, is, what are your numbers? And then let's run, whether it's an ROI analysis and sometimes, again, Craig, it doesn't have to be an ROI analysis. It could be something like, for example, sometimes they just want to understand how the process works. What's the rollout? And here's what we did with this company. Here's how it would work with your company. But the more you can use their numbers, their processes, and almost complement what they currently have, it's more believable and it's less BS-y or less hypey. But if you come in and says, look what they did, you could do it too. Yeah, that's not going to work. And we also have to keep in mind, because you're bringing up a very good point, and I'm going to stretch it just a little bit, Craig, is that an ROI is a logical number, right? It's a rational cognitive number. ROI, total cost of ownership, break-even points, ARR, all those. These are logical numbers. And that's cool. You can hit the logical side. But then there's the right brain, the emotional side, the reptilian side, right? Where we have to emotionally connect with the client and make them feel comfortable working with us. Because you can show people numbers, but if they're not comfortable working with you, then it really doesn't work. The case study really doesn't have the oomph that it should. So I don't know if I answered your question. It was kind of a long answer, but that's kind of how I look at it. So it has to make sense. It has to fit naturally. I would use it as a springboard to have a conversation about, here are the numbers we're finding. Let's talk about the numbers we believe we can do for you. Let me ask you a couple of questions to get some numbers, and let's walk through the process and see what we find that is believable. And then you're going to have a different dialogue. So that's how I would use it. Great question, man. Great question. Victor, don't sweat the echo. It's LinkedIn. Viewers are over to the other platform. Okay, cool. I won't sweat it then, man. Thank you, Chris. What else? Best method to find case studies. Interesting. So if you don't have a case study, this is tough. This is a tough one, Ansley, because, if they're buying a service from you, a product from you, then, they're saying, well, why don't you have a case study? So this is a tough one. I don't think you want to borrow somebody else's case study. You can use a case study from somebody else to kind of, bolster your position of why something is important. For example, I can show you things from I'm just making stuff up, from the World Health Organization or the CDC that says, hey, here are the type of supplements you should use. And here are some case studies that they use. And here's the supplements we sell. That's one way of using somebody else's case studies. But the more powerful ones are, again, you can use that data, but you can say, here are the stuff from the CDC, World Health Organization, whatever, the body is the FDA. But then you can say, but here is a customer just like you, single mom, single dad, parent, whatever it may be, that is using it, and here's what they found, and here's how they implemented it. And I think the implementation pieces, I like Craig's question because, the pushback, because it's how you implement it that's going to make them feel comfortable or not with the process and make it believable whether it will work for them. See, again, showing a case study, ROI, is logical, but then the fear. Remember my past Sales After Dark, we talk about there's selling above the waterline and then there's below the waterline where the real resistance is. And so part of your job is to show the case study, logical, tie it in emotionally, make them feel the pain, but also reduce the resistance. And the resistance is, well, how am I going to implement that? If you think of, Jenny Craig, the food company you can buy, food you can buy that's already made for you. It's not so much that the food is made for you, is that Jenny Craig basically gives you a schedule of what you can eat and how you should eat it, right? So it gives you a blueprint. And so that also is part of presenting a case studies. When you're presenting case studies, here's how it worked for them, here's how it will work for you, here's how we would roll out the plan, and what you're doing is you're reducing that anxiety. So great question, man, great question. TJ, back at you, man. Okay, thanks, Gator. Here is Philippines, but now it starts at 10 a.m. Got it. An extra hour sell millions. There you go. Let me see. How much was your drawing tablet, Victor? I bet you could sell me on it really easily. Go down to the link below. Just look at the vibe.us. Just go down below. So with this and the stand, it was $3,500. Can I sell you on it? I don't need to sell you on it because I'm sold on it. Somebody asked, I was interviewed by the people of Vibe. Was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday. And they asked me about, my relationship with my board, right? And I'm telling you, this board has made me money. I got my money back many times over. I could be their case study of how this thing has helped me book more virtual events just because I had this. And so again, think about the power here, King. I'm gonna try to sell you on this, right? If you're really interested, or whoever's watching. You can do this, right? You can just do this, and this is just cool. You can map things out, have fun with it, right? Or you can try, watch this. I'm gonna show you what I got here. So, or you can do something on a board. And there's just a significant difference in interaction when you use a whiteboard versus this interactive board. And again, you've seen me bring PowerPoint. I can bring video in here. It's a powerful tool, man. So I think if you're interested in the board, this is the best deal out there. The other competitor I looked at was Google Jam Board. But they were like $6,700 and you had to buy some monthly services. And I was like, no, not for me. CF, what's happening? Victor, this is awesome and timely episode. Victor, what do you see more favorable results when delivering case studies? Verbal, text, or video? I would say verbal, right? And if you can't talk to them, then if you can't do face-to-face, then it's obviously video. I think we overcomplicate case studies. You know how sometimes people write these case studies that are like 3 to 5 pages long. And they got small, because I think even font size matter. There's a science beyond even font size and the type of fonts you should use, right? For example, I like to use, when a case studies I like to use, sometimes a 14-point font, Helvetica New, because it's sans serif. It doesn't have those little curly things. And people found, studies on pricing have found that prices without the sans serif, the little lips at the end, the little twists, actually sell more. Believe it or not, they've got it down to that type of science. So to answer the question is, if you can do it, right here, you can show a video. The problem with videos, testimonials, I hate testimonials, I really do. Because testimonials are, I like CF. She's great to work with. She's the best. I love working with her company and, I have all the success. She was always there for me. And this is great, but the customer is thinking, I'm not buying it. The best video testimonials is somebody saying, here was our problem. We looked at all this, and here's why we chose it, right? Here's why we chose CF's product or service. And then here's how we implemented it. Here's how we implemented it. And then here was some of the downsides, because people want to hear the downsides. And again, there's a whole psychology behind always insert a negative into your presentation to make it more believable. And here was a problem here. He said, here's how we overcame that. But it really took, we thought it was going to take 3 weeks. It really took 6 weeks. But in the end, these were the results. And people go, that's believable. We go back to the word believable. Maybe I should have just titled this whole thing believability, right? It's how do you make it believable? I think that's the actual component we're looking for. Can we make it believable? Or else clients will just tune out. I've seen too many people put, these videos on their websites. They're just like, you're the best. This company's awesome to work with. And it doesn't sell anything. It just doesn't sell anything. Love how you double talk. For example, I want to say something. Okay, there is something I want to say. If I do it, I don't mean it on purpose. Was that double talk just now? I think so, maybe. Anyway, King Harry, grab his link listed below. Yeah, grab the link below that, and there's a discount code as well, man. So if you were looking at, wow, that's expensive, but I thought so because it looks awesome. Again, it's for some people, it's not for other people, but it's a really cool tool, man. Rod Bidre, you're right back. How would you ascertain if it's not BS without the presence of actual contact info or a case study prospect? How would you ascertain if it's not BS without the presence of actual contact info of a case study prospect? Oh, you mean when they don't actually put the name of the company? Yeah, that's a good one, because I think, people always, if I'm going to spend a lot of money, I'm going to ask for references, right? I'm going to ask for references for something. And so if it's a big project, then yeah, I'm going to ask for references. And a lot of case studies, they'll typically give you the company name. And I think that's always fair when they do that. The challenge they face is that they don't want to put the company name on there because their competition may be looking at their website and then try to poach that client. But I think if you give them a general case study, maybe there's somewhere in there you can say, we'd be more than happy to put you in contact with the actual company and you can have a direct conversation with them. If they say something like that, then it's not BS. But yeah, well, here's the other thing. Let's just say that the case study is real. The other problem is that, companies cherry pick the best case studies, right? This is why it's interesting to always insert some negatives or things that didn't go right. Because if everything's roses, right? Everything's, Louis Armstrong, skies are blue, that whole thing, they're not going to believe it because they know that you've only picked the best ones and you didn't pick any failures. It's almost like when you write a resume, right? Nobody talks about their failures in their resumes. They're only going to they're going to put the best of who they are on the resume. So that's why case studies it's a tough balance. And I was mentioning CF, when we're talking about the video, if you can get a customer to really you could do a real good video with a customer, that's what I would recommend. If you have the money and the resources, hire a production company, go to Cast Ahead, hire Chris, right? Take them over to your customers, spend a full day with your customers, really having them talk about the product, really, talking about it, articulating, talking about the problems, talking about the ups and downs, unexpected, expected, unexpected, expected, the whole thing. And then put together from that, that whole day, a 2-minute story, about your product. Those are the best. And so I think that would be a great idea. If I were to spend the money, I would do something like that. If I had a client that I know is the gold standard, they're the ones, they epitomize the type of companies we want, I'd get a small production team and I would work with them, get a full day of recording with the customer's permission, and then create a small little 2-3 minute commercial. But again, it's telling the story, not about how great you are, about how that company, the problem they had, ideal solution, the problem with the ideal solution, and then how they figured it out and how they implemented it and how it's working for them, and have somebody just be very honest and open about it. I think that's the best way of doing it. I think that's powerful right there. And yes, he did. I love it, man. I love it, man. So yeah, I think, because it is true, right? It's almost like, if you just talk ROI, it's like, and most of the case studies, I'm like, with the skeptical eye, in Latin America, they always say, ojo, right? Like, ojo, I, which means, I don't know if I trust that. So yeah, there you go. But thank you. I love questions like that. Where do you find case studies? Can you develop your own? Is a case study like a testimonial? Yeah, Mike, you want to use your own company as a testimonial. In other words, clients you've worked with. And to me, a testimonial is you're great, right? I think a case study really evaluates. It's almost like a before and after, but it really evaluates the process you went through. So for example, if you sell a software product, I always use software because it could be, a hard sell, a soft sell, it could be both. But if you have software, you can now take the person through a journey in a case study. Here was the problem we're currently having. We did our research and we found Victor's company, Victor's software, right? And we were skeptical, so we were looking at 2 others. We got together with Victor and we highlighted that these were the problems. These were the problems, and as we moved through the problems, we realized that we had this to do, that to do. And what we then did is implemented a process. We rolled it out. These were the initial results. These were some of the things we didn't expect that we now had to correct or integrate, supplement, and we had, Victor had to add a new software feature, and then this is what we came out at the other end, and we're really happy. That to me is like a case study. It's kind of a true story of how it went from beginning, first contact, all the way to the end, and the results you're getting 6 months to 1 year from now. As opposed to a testimonial, which basically validates who you are. Yes, Mike is a great guy. Love working with Mike. He's authentic, high integrity. He's a guy you definitely want to work with. That's a testimonial. It's more opinion, not journey. Does that help? Let me know. I think that was a good one. VA is such a badass presenter. Great inspiration for public speaking. So on point in the delivery. Justin, gracias. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that, man. I work hard at it. Rogelio Jacinto. How are the supply in the life insurance? How are the supply? Or the stories? Hit me back with that one again, Rogelio, and you can write it in Spanish if you want. How are the supply in the life insurance industries? I don't understand that one. I think if you're talking about case studies in the life insurance industry, I'm sure you probably can find a lot. Rahul Rajvanshi. If I'm close, man, I'll take that. Getting engagement on the case study is really the tough nut to crack, right? I generally plug it in the conversation where I let the prospect talk and I go like, wait, what? XYZ should be like based on what we have. Bringing a case study / data, is this a good approach? Wait, so let me read that again. I'm gonna just shrink it down just a little bit. Getting engagement on the case study is really tough not to crack. I generally plug it in the conversation where I let the prospect talk and I go, wait, what? XYZ should be like based on what we've seen. So in other words, you're kind of like correcting, you should be seeing this is what you're saying. In other words, you do the whole, what was that? You're only getting 5% return on investment? Is that the average that you're getting? Well, here's what we're finding in our data. That's not a bad approach, right? But again, you run the risk of it being confrontational. That's the only thing I would say, Raul, right? You just run the risk of it being a little confrontational. But again, that's not a bad approach. If it's framed correctly, that's not a bad approach. But if I'm talking to a customer, if it's a group of people, right? If it's a group of people, again, I would say, let's say that the number is 5%. I would say something like this. In my conversation, I would raise the objection, just using the blocking objection structure. I would say something like this. I said, one of the things we did before we, somewhere in your presentation, work it out after the discovery, after you've begun your presentation of why you're there, once you're into the meat of the presentation, and then you can find a place and sort of goes, now, one of the things we did to prepare for this meeting is we looked at your industry. In fact, we looked at some of your competitors and some of your complementary competitors, your derivative competitors who are not direct competitors, but also provide similar services, right? And what we found with your direct competitors, we found that on average, they're getting a 5% return on investment. With complementary competitors, you're looking at about maybe a 3 to 4%. But we were surprised by that number because here's what we found when clients are using our products. And I'm going to show you what the differences are. So then you can present your stuff, and then almost you teed up the whole thing, right? Just like you teed it up. And even though they didn't bring it up, you raised the objection, and now you control that conversation. So that's another way of doing it. I like doing it that way, but your way is not wrong. It's just that if you say it to the wrong person, the person who implemented the actual program is in there. And what you're saying is, basically, you're an idiot because you're only getting 5%. Here's what you should be getting. That's the only danger with that. So again, not a bad one, but so how would you apply this to the life insurance industry? You guys do this all the time. I've seen this one done a lot, Jacinto, Rogelio. I've seen, when you show the, these are the ones that are tough. This goes back to Craig Isaac's question about is it BS? Because I've seen people show, depending on the type of life insurance they get, right? The ones with the cash value at the end of the year, you get your cash value, you can take you can take a loan out against and things like that. And they show these projections. And sometimes the projections are based on a very long time frame, not a 3 to 5 year time frame, but a 15 to 20, 25 year time frame. And the customer's going, I don't know if I believe the numbers. So I've seen a lot of case studies. I'm sure you guys used a lot of case studies in the life insurance industry. But I would use a case study like, here's a family of two adults, 2 kids, live in this neighborhood, average income is this much, and they want to protect their assets. If you're this type of person, this is your, remember, that's the case study, that's the profile, that's their segment, right? The industry. I said, we believe that the average, life insurance policy coverage should be something multiple, like 5x your annual income, which puts you in this bracket. Here's why. And then I would use it that way. Let me know if that helps. But I'm sure you guys probably do that already because you guys are very good at it. We sell herbs, holistic medicine, and in our business, using case studies from the CDC can be integral to proving the worth of our products to a Western audience. That's what I'm saying. You could use external data, right, to kind of validate your product. That's exactly right, bro. So I would agree. During COVID, what's the one mistake sales teams have made? It is to accept in their minds that selling through video is not as effective as selling face-to-face. That's the one. I think that's the biggest mistake because I'm not saying it's the same, but I'm not saying it's any worse because selling through video, you can probably you can talk to more people, close more deals. More people are at home, so that means my connection rate, call to connect and meet, is much higher. And I think so that's one of the mistakes I think people have made is the mindset that, okay, it's technology. And a lot has to do, Craig, I think with people are just, many, I'll just say the older generation, baby boomers, they're like Luddites. They don't like technology. But I think we're getting over that hump. Even the older folk are kind of using technology now. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes we make. The other thing is to become so dependent because now we're doing everything virtually is I've seen people get lazy with their prospecting and they're sending out these massive emails using these different sales engagement platforms, and they're sending out these template emails that are phony and fake. And I think, and they see that as productivity. I see it as a waste of time, right? I'm of the belief I'd rather send 10 qualified, really high quality, emails than send 100 bam, 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 bam. And the law of averages will be there. But again, so the big one is to assume that you can't sell via video. Look, companies are finding out, Craig. I don't know if you know this, but companies are finding out they can sell more effectively virtually, remotely than they were before the pandemic. The pool industry, great example. The roofing industry, great example. This morning I was talking to Rollins Pest Control. Incredible numbers. They're doing exceptionally well. A lot of the residential home businesses are doing well. Netflix is doing well. Zoom is doing. There are a lot of companies that are doing well. There are a lot of companies, even CarMax, the car company, is selling more cars with less people. So again, that whole mindset that I can't sell because I'm not there prevents people from really becoming, I don't want to say more aggressive, but more invested in this virtual reality we call remote selling. So that's a great question. Never had that one before. Have you tried Doodly? I'm not sure of the spelling. That animated presentation thing. I think I know that. I know the thing. Is that the one with the hand that does this? That they just show the hand, it does this. Yeah, I don't like those. I don't like animations like that. Those whiteboard animations, if that's what you're talking about, they had their moment in the sun, for about maybe a year. Then everybody started doing it, and it's just really corny. What is the little statue? Why, Chris? Why are you always looking in the back here, man? Why are you always looking in the back? Focus here, man. What is the little statue next to you, next to the Sales Ex Machina book? It's a little Buddha. It's a little Buddha. I got this in Phoenix. I just loved it. Here, you want to see? I'll show you my little Buddha. And I like statues. I got a couple of statues downstairs. So I just like statues, man. So if you want to see it, Chris, I'll show you my statue. That's what the Buddha looks like. And so it's just a cool statue. It's high quality, and that's it. It has no significant meaning. Maybe I just rub its head for good luck. That's about it. But I just thought it was a cool statue. I got another one. Well, maybe I'll bring another one later. Oh, that's heavy. Thank you, Chris, for interrupting my flow right here, man. Spencer, great info as always, man. Thank you. I'm getting ready to sign off here, man. Duncan, where you been, man? I have done that, taking customers from competitor case studies or testimonial, right? You've done that, right? Now, I'm not going to hate on you. I'm not, because, it's all fair in sales and war, right? And so if somebody else puts a case study and puts their client on the case study, they're going to get poached. So I wasn't making that up. If I understand this correctly, use negatives as part of blocking objections. Edgar Martinez. Use a negative as part as proving that your solution is real. You know what I mean? If I told you that I'm perfect, my height's perfect, my head's perfect, my glasses are perfect, this is perfect, everything's perfect, right? You're like, really, Victor? There's nothing wrong with you, right? See, that skepticism kicks in? But as soon as I can tell you, well, I got a round head, eyes a little messed up, I walk with a limp, but at the end of the day, I do my best when it comes to selling. It's letting people know that that the product isn't perfect, the process isn't perfect. And for some reason, when you insert a negative, it actually makes it more believable. If I said, hey man, this is going to work, just going to insert it, going to plug it, and you go, and that's how it works. People go, really? That smooth? Like it always works that smoothly? But if you say this, this, and this, and this, now, the only thing we have to watch for is we have to make sure that this operating system it has at least a 10.1 version on the platform. If it doesn't have that, then that's going to be an issue. But we'll do that. What we'll do is we'll check that, and if it's not there, we'll just upgrade that, and then we should be able to implement this new software package easily. See what I mean? It's just inserting something that says, this might be a problem, this may be an issue, and it just makes it more believable. It makes it like, oh, you've done this before because you know where the pitfalls are. So find a way to use that to your advantage. And again, it really depends on your product, but you can find ways of using this. Hello, this is William Caldas. Hello, my friend from Brazil. Thank you for being here. CF says, I appreciate, Victor, you prefer well-structured testimonials over just verbiage. Yes, I would say that is correct. I don't like I'll use Chris's word, the wordy people. People who just talk and it's all flowers and, it's like, I just don't buy it. I want to know that you struggled to deal with this. It's almost, we want the hero story. I think, Edgar, that's what I want to say. Edgar Martinez, that's what I want to say. You want a hero story. Look, here's what we did. And then we had to do this, and then, whoa, it got bad. That didn't work out, but here's how we solved it. And now look at where we're at. That's what people want to hear. If you can find that type of structure, the hero story, which we've talked about in the past, I think that's a more powerful way of doing it. Edgar, so if I understand, okay, we did that one already, cool. Let me see. ¿Prefieres utilizar un testimonio en texto o video para realizar una venta? So that's exactly what I was asked before by CF. Would I rather use a testimonial with text or video in order to close a sale? I would say that I would want to use a video. But, William, algo real que no sea tan muy fanfarrón. You don't want something that's fake. You want something that's real. So, si es algo honesto, eso es lo que uno quiere. Utilizar un testimonio donde la persona va a describir realmente lo que está pasando. De tal forma que no está exagerando. Okay? Translate for everybody else is like, give them something that's real, that's not exaggerated. That's what they want. That's what they really want. You made a great point about the difference between testimonials and case studies. Omar, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. How would you convince reluctant client to provide a case study? Oh, man, that's a good question. How would you do that? Bribery is good. Bribery is good. Well, here's the problem. Joking aside, here's the one big problem with asking people for a case study, right? So again, these are great questions you guys are asking now. Really, really hard questions. I love this. Well, the problem with wanting to do a case study, I'm a company, I just bought your software package, and that software package now provides me an advantage. Why would I want to let the world know what I use? See, that's a big problem, right? That's a big problem. If a company doesn't want to reveal their secret sauce, right, which is your product, then they're not going to want to give you a testimonial. They're just not. There's no way you can overcome that. So that might be the resistance you're getting. So that's one area where I just don't want people to know what I'm doing, because then they're going to go out and do the same, right? The other one is that they don't want to look bad. That might be another reason why they don't want to do a testimonial. Well, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what you're going to use it for, and we don't want to look bad. And so in that case, if that's the objection, I would say, let us spend a day with you. We'll do the testimonial. We'll create the testimonial, create a 2-3 minute video. We will show you the video. And if you approve it, then we'll use it. If you say no, then we'll modify, change it, edit it until you're satisfied. And the win-win here, Mr. Customer, is that we get to use your testimonial, tell the world about how great the product works for you, but for you, it's also marketing, and we'll promote your services along with the video. So make it a win-win. So that might be another way of doing it. And then the third option is you might want to pay them. But I don't think that'll work. Selling ain't hard when you know how. Thank you for the sales, training, and inspiration, Victor. Been following you on YouTube, Mark. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you. I really do. All right, I got to start wrapping up here. You guys are really coming at me today, and I love it. Okay, this one is, hello, everyone, and my name is Chad Stingley, and I had a question. How do I tailor my case study and comparison to the 4 types of buyer economic management? User technical, how do I tailor that? All right, good questions today, man. You guys to be merciless today. All right, so based on solution selling, there's 4 buyers, right? There's the management buyer, the user buyer, the technology buyer, and then there's the economic buyer, right? The management people typically care about, return on investment, ROI, right? The user buyer typically cares about ease of use. How is it going to make their life much simpler? The technical person cares about, can I integrate it, right? Is it upgradable? Is it expandable? Anything that has to do with integrating the technology, that's going to be them. The economic buyer is also thinking ROI. I would add that ROI plus expand market share is what the manager is thinking. This one's probably pure ROI or total cost of ownership. These are the things I would put, these are the elements I would have in my testimonials. And you can work all these in. Like the return on investment is the outcome with expanded market share. Users, once we implemented the software, it took a week for us to train the people. Then once we trained the people, it took them then, and they realized after a month of training, or a month of using it, that they were saving 1 to 2 hours, so that was great. On the technical side, we had 0 problems with integration. The platforms were ready, It's upgradable, it's expandable, all these wonderful things. And again, the ROI is there, total cost of ownership. And what we found is our costs actually reduced, blah, 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 blah. So you can do it that way. How was that for a fast answer for a very big question? Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Love Director, I came here because someone shared the link on Justin's Discord. You should just get him on your podcast. Would love to see both of you exchanging thoughts. It will make one crazy episode. Send me his information. Send me his information. I'll look him up, and it might make one crazy episode. All right, a couple more. How do you use case studies to block the price objection? Do you also have to mention the price? Remember, so you can, yes. In the program that I use, the blocking objection, I actually frame the price. You can anchor a price or you can frame a price. Sounds complicated, but it's not. So if I want to use a case study to block an objection, you can probably say something like this. One of our clients' biggest concern is that our product is too expensive. And we understand that. Notice I'm raising the objection. Typical installation cost for a product like this will be about $20,000 on the high side. But let me show you a customer just like you who had the same reservations, about pricing and implementation. And let me just show you what we did and how it turned out for them. Enter the case study, right? Then, once you show the case study, you tie it down by saying, based on what I've shown you, can you now see how a $20 investment for that company was well worth it? That's how you do it. That's how you would integrate it together. Again, if you're not part of the Sales Velocity Academy, not trying to sell you, but go check it out, man. It really is. I got some great courses in there. All right, I'm wrapping up here. I'm out of here. Final thoughts. Let's do this now so I can get out of here. Final thoughts for tonight are the following. Again, I wanted just to insert like this coaching conversation I had this morning. How to use case studies. And the big takeaways are find a case study that aligns with the customer you're talking to. So if you have 5 different customer personas, you want 5 different case studies. Number 2, you want them to be believable. Again, don't shoot too high, never aim low, find the just right. In other words, here, if it's too good to be true, they're not gonna believe it. If it's too small to make any difference, why would I do it? So you gotta find that one right in the middle. And again, second step, think about all the objections you're going to get and how you would use that case study. And maybe you use more than one. Maybe you use 2 case studies to block different types of objections. And then step number 3 is use the blocking objection structure. Again, the program is called Response Block Selling, blocking objections. And if you know how to block objections, I'm telling you, you're going to see the difference in your presentation. And if you like the Sales After Dark, do me a favor. See that button right there? If you haven't subscribed, do that. And right here, hit the like it if you like it, and then share it with at least one other person. And that would be the coolest thing you can do for me. And on that note, this is Victor Antonio signing off, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. See you next time.